Hello, hello. And hello to YouTube. We are talking about three pick me behaviors that will not make them love you. And we're talking about this because I think one of the strengths that many of us come into relationships with is wanting to be open-minded, wanting to meet our partners where we are, wanting to be teachable. Especially, I think even more so after you have had lots of maybe relationship disappointment and you're trying to find out, was it me? Was it them? Was I being too strict? Were the people being, hey, Leica, hey, good to see you, boo. Was I actually being picky like the people in my head said? And are there ways that I can grow? And sometimes we can overcorrect to go to the other side and start to lose our self-respect. We can overcorrect and lose our own internal voice and wisdom. And we can do behaviors that are classically called pick me behaviors, that put us in the background and make it to where we can be in relationships with people who will end up walking all over us. And so I wanted to speak to that. I wanted to speak to that because I think it's important for us to know, okay, what's the line between compromising? What's the line between compromising, settling, being self accountable, showing up, and then me again overcorrecting and being more love addictive, or as we know in our current society as pick me behavior. So in case you are someone who just happens to not know what pick me means, it is a slang term that says that you are a person, or that someone is a person where they are going to do everything that they can, self abandon, self deny, in order to be chosen, to be picked, to be seen as not like the others. And women and men, well, we talk about it more in the context of women, but women who experience these behaviors a lot of times don't even know that they're doing it. They don't know that they are really self abandoning themselves. And then sometimes, many of us who are really trying to do our best, what happens is we get into relationships where we say that we are going to stand in our power and stand in our truth. And lo and behold, we end up getting caught up in cycles without even realizing it. So let me just go ahead and jump on in, because it's going to make more sense as I talk about that. If this is something that you're excited to hear about, go ahead and put a heart in the chat for me. I'm going between different screens and my notes, between YouTube and between um, Instagram. So I hope that we are excited. Like it says, woo, child. Yes, so this is very common. Okay, so give me a heart, give me a one. Okay, thank you for the heart, y'all. Okay, the first pick me behavior, the first thing that I want you to keep on your radar to not do or to be aware of, that can, you think that you're that you're compromising, you think that you're trying to be a better person, you think that you're trying to meet the person where they are, is knowing that your over forgiveness of any disrespect that they may give you is not going to make someone love you more. I'm going to say that again. Your over forgiveness of their disrespectful behavior towards you is not going to make them love you more. I'm going to say it one more time. Your over forgiveness of disrespectful behavior is not going to make them love you more. Okay. So, over forgiveness is what's important. Okay, so forgiveness in all relationships is important because people are people, and humans make mistakes. Sometimes someone will say something that, without them really thinking about it, it will end up hurting your feelings, or you will say something that will end up hurting their feelings. And for y'all to be able to move forward, there will have to be forgiveness. Sometimes there is a need that you have to feel loved, to feel special, to feel safe, that does not come naturally to the other person, or they tried, or it was a bad day and you were extra sensitive that day, or they were extra sensitive that day. Miscommunications happen, or lack of communication happens. Forgiveness needs to happen in all relationships to move forward. When I talk about over forgiveness, though, I'm talking about someone has continually disrespected and put you in emotional danger or distress, mental danger, distress, physical, sexual, financial danger or distress, and you will continue to forgive them. So there's that old phrase that we've all heard probably a million times, that fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you. Um, right? Is that how it goes? And fool me 3 times when I'm supposed to get to 3 times. So many of us will get to times 14, 15, 16, 17, right? And we are hoping what happens is a lot of times when this happens, is not that people necessarily take it silently, right? I, for the most part, come across people who, when they have been disrespected or hurt by a partner or a friend, they will tell them, right? They don't just keep it all in. They'll say, I didn't like this. This hurt me. You're not going to treat me this way. I deserve better. If this keeps happening, I'm gone. I'm not talking to you. Like, they may cut them off on their phone lines for a while. They may break up and start dating other people. But it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what you do. So if someone continues to disrespect you and someone continues to dishonor you and you stay there, they learn that it doesn't really matter. Like, you're just going to talk, but all they have to do is wait you out. They just have to wait you out. They just have to listen, give a form of apologies, give a form of gifts, or not give anything because, you and your overconnection or your trauma bond to them or your emotional um, history with them is going to make you soften and is going to make you give them another chance, right? And so it's really important that when someone disrespects you, that you really focus on owning respect for yourself. So I talk a lot about making sure that you have your own standards. So standards are you knowing what is needed for someone to gain access to your heart, to your body, to your mind, to your spirit, right? Those are your standards. They don't change. So no matter if it is a potential partner, a friend, a family member, an associate, there is a certain set of passcodes. There's a certain set of regulations that are needed for someone to gain access to the treasure that is you. And so when they break that, it is not up to you to convince them that they did wrong or make them feel it, because they've already showed you that they don't really honor you in the regard that you honor yourself. And so it is up to you to correct it by only being in relationships with people who respect you. When you are continually putting yourself in a situation where someone is treating you less than you deserve and you are taking it, that person does not look at you and, like, I think sometimes, especially for those of us who've been in emotionally distressful relationships and situations, part of the hope that we have, part of the fantasy that sometimes we have, is that one day the person's going to wake up and be like, man, I put this person through all this hurt and all this pain. She is a good woman. She is a good friend. She is a good lover. That does not happen, because the people who are doing this to you, they are doing so because they do not see you and value you in the way that you deserve to be. That does not mean that you are not valuable. It does not mean that you're not a treasure. It does not mean that you're not a good catch or a good partner. It does not mean that you are not as good as fill in the blank, whatever person that you may um, be tempted to compare yourself to. It means that that person, with whatever they're going through, whatever their blocks is, or whatever the disconnect or misconnection is, they do not see you as a person, or they do not know how to love you in the way that you deserve to be treated. And so, what happens is they don't have that moment of, like, internal reckoning where they, like, self correct, because that was never there in the first place. If anything, they see that you continue to take it and they're like, dang, like, it's like, I'm gonna use this word, and please hear the kindness that I'm really intending it with. Sometimes when you allow yourself to be disrespected a lot, the person on the other side, instead of feeling compassion for you, they feel like pity. And they feel, sometimes they even feel disgust. Like, you really gonna let me treat you like that? Like, you're really gonna let me walk over you like that? Like, you don't get any brownie points for someone dishonoring you and not loving you in the way that you deserve. If only you get more of that behavior. So it's really important for you to know your worth, know your truth, and to not over forgive disrespect by knowing what your standards are for love and knowing what your standards are for connection. Okay. Let me know if that makes sense. I see that there are some comments on YouTube, but you can let me know in the chat. Um, Hey, you says, couldn't that mean that you have a fearful, avoidant attachment style? Or I guess what would be the difference? What was I saying that made you ask that question, my dear? Because um, I was talking a lot. um, Melinda says, I'm old fashioned. I don't see anything wrong with being a pick me to the right person. So, yeah, if you are in a relationship with someone who is secure and healthy and mutually connected to you, that doesn't exist. Like that, pick me, the term pick me is when you are someone who is over giving to someone who is unavailable to you, someone who has no regard for you, does not respect you, does not love you, does not honor you. So when people put themselves in that position, that's what makes them a pick me. Hey, this person who doesn't love me, honor me, cherish me, value me, I'm going to do everything I can and self abandon, self neglect, deny myself so that you can pick me. That is where that term comes from. There are terms that are talking about what you're describing, which is interdependence, which is securely attached people, which are emotionally available people, which are people who are courageous and giving. You know, whenever I talk about intimacy disorders like love addiction, love avoidance, love deprivation, I always say that all of the symptoms are all based in strengths. Even codependency, which is what this week's podcast episode is supposed to be about. I might change the topic. But even codependency, which at its core is about being generous, loving, giving, thoughtful, empathic, right? Sacrificial and compromising in a healthy context. All of these are superpowers. All of these are strengths, right? We did not. The goal is not to heal ourselves out of this place of being a kind, compassionate, loving, giving person, lover, friend. However, when people are codependent, they are overgiving and only doing those qualities to the detriment of themselves. So they will overgive to where they are in mental and emotional and financial and spiritual strain. They will over attend to somebody else while not attending to themselves and put them again in a mental, emotional, financial, spiritual, sexual strain, right? So, to your point, yeah, it is about the context, but pick me does not exist in a healthy relationship, just like simping. Simping does not exist when you are in a healthy, committed partnership. Simping, because simping is usually used on the context of men in a heterosexual relationship, simping, which is about being thoughtful, attending to your partner, studying your partner, knowing what's important to them, proactively thinking about what they want. That sounds like a healthy partnership to me. That sounds like something that both sides are doing. But the way that culture will take healthy things and villainize it based on their own trauma and their own projection. Simping does happen when, because there are men who are love addicts too. There are men who, even though this culture and the way that society and the trends and media is focusing on right now people are focusing a lot on like incel communities, men who hate women and who are, verbalizing that with all this bravado. But there are and have been a lot of men who are very codependent and over attached to women and to men who dishonor them and disrespect them. And so instead of being a pick me, they are a simp and they will do everything that they can to try to get someone who does not love them and does not see them and will continue to disrespect them to meet them where they are. And that is unhealthy. That is very unhealthy to be used and dragged through the mud on any case, no matter what the gender is. Okay, so let me know if that makes sense. That's codependent behavior. Pick me isn't respectable at all. It isn't shocking to seem old fashioned when old fashioned meant women didn't have rights and had to endure it. Yeah, that's a bigger conversation. If in my talking I come back around to that, then I may. But yeah, so yes, they see you as unworthy and switching to appease. Okay. Um, Go ahead if y'all ready for point number 2. We're talking about 3 pick me behaviors that will not make unavailable people love you, care for you, show up for you. Go ahead and put a 2 or a heart in the chat for me. Put a 2 or a heart in the chat, and we will go to number 2. Just asking because I read that fearful avoidance typically lean towards presenting as anxiously attached when in romantic relationships. Yeah, so all the insecure attachment styles are basically what I talk about here, and I talk about them in the extremes. So, insecure, anxious attachment, fearful avoidance, straight up avoidance, they all fall into the intimacy disorders that I talk about here. Yeah, so absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, twos. Thank you, y'all. Twos and hearts. Thank you. Okay. So the second pick me behavior for you to look out for, that will not make someone who is unavailable care for you, love you, show up for you, respect you, is being complacent. So you being complacent, not showing up for your needs, becoming needless and wantless is not going to make someone really like infatuated with you. I think if anyone who's ever struggled with love addiction is here, tell me if you can relate to this. I know that there was a point in time in my love addictive journey that I got the biggest like hit of affirmation and validation when I would have a partner tell me how easy I was as a girlfriend, how easy I was as a partner, right? I remember there was this one person I was dating, and he was saying, "Yeah, like I hear about what my guy friends go through, and like, things are just easy here." And I thought, in that time, I thought that meant that like I was like easy, breezy, carefree, and laid back. But the reason why I was is because I was going along to get along. It's because things that I wanted or that I needed, I had adopted. This is what a relationship looks like, and this is what he wants, and I can make myself want that, and this is the availability, and this is what happens. And so I morphed myself into being whatever this person needed or wanted, or what I intuited they needed or wanted, because I was an expert at reading people. I was an expert at becoming a chameleon and being whatever anybody wanted me to be, not only just romantic partnerships, but friendships, family, just really great at it, right? And um, so yeah, being easy was a compliment until I realized, and this actually came up in that relationship down the road. This is what I mean. There are a lot of other relationship experts and dating experts and stuff out there, people out there who talk about this, but you need to listen to the facts. Listen to when people say that you showing up as your best self and showing up with your voice is the most important thing. You showing up as you is the most important thing, because that's what makes you interesting. That's what makes someone want to connect with you. And more than anything, that's what helps you have your own self esteem and your own sense of joy and your own sense of, again, self respect in your relationship, when you are clued in to what you want, what you need, what's important to you, so that person can attend to you. Otherwise, it's boring. If I am talking to someone and I'm trying to have a conversation with them, and all they're saying is like, "Yeah, I agree," and I'm like, "Okay," and then what? Then da, 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 da. And then they like say, "Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah." And then I'm like, "Okay, all right. Well, what about this?" And then they're like, "Yeah, totally. I see that." And they're just yes manning me to death. That doesn't provide any contrast. It doesn't provide any flow. It doesn't provide any like magic or things to connect to. And so what ended up happening in that relationship is, down the road, my pick me yes man behavior to just go along and just be happy being there. He actually told me at one point, he was like, he mentioned how he noticed that when I was with other people, because we had mutual friends and social connections, everything. He mentioned how he would see how I was with other people in another context, and how much I talked, and how much like I was out there and loud and vibrant and everything else. And then when I went around him, I became more docile, and I became more complacent, and I became more passive. And what he liked about me was that fire. He liked my light. He liked me. He liked the freedom that the freedom of expression that I showed up in when I was my full self, and did not like, it fit for a while, but did not like me becoming a Barbie doll. So people who actually love you and want to connect to you, they want to get to know you. They do not want a Barbie. They do not want someone who's just going to be quiet. They want to meet someone who is their equal in their partnership. People who are abusive, people who are users, people who are unavailable, they get a lot from you being needless and wantless. They get a lot from you just going along with what they want and attending to them until they get tired or bored, and they may discard you, right? And so when we look at pick me behavior, which is pick me behavior, which is about self abandoning and losing yourself, you want to look at, am I in all of my friendships, relationships, partnerships saying what I want, right? Where do you want to go out for dinner? Saying what it is that you want and not worrying about someone else getting upset. They say something or do something that irritates you. You saying something about it. They want to take the relationship in a direction that you feel don't feel comfortable with, or you do want a little bit more, saying something, showing up for what you want. Let me know if that makes sense, because I feel like there can be a whole lot of questions or thoughts or like what ifs when it comes to that one about not being complacent and showing up as your best self, or ways that you've done it before. Would love to hear that if you have done that before in a previous relationship and has ended successfully. Ending successfully means whether or not you have a partner that um, met you with that, right? Like you were brave, you shared what you wanted. And I say brave because some of us are learning how to use our voice. I feel like there's half of us that come out, and our problem, if there is a problem, is that we have to learn how to filter a little bit, right? Like we're like, if anything, like we're gonna tell you every time, and maybe we have to learn how to not be as quick to like criticize or something, and kind of balance it out. And others of us who are recovered people pleasers, we are those who will just stay quiet and stay complacent. And so it really is bravery when we actually show up and say something, right? So yeah. Um, Natural Journey says, I'm finally being non complacent with the help of your coaching. Yes! I am so proud of you. That has come a long way. It is scary and hard. I've lost many relationships. Yes, I am so proud of you. You are such this person is one of my coaching students. You are such a giving and loving person. And these people, it is about time for you to tell them, and I'm sure you're telling them clearly and with love, and you're showing up for yourself and having boundaries, and they are going to be all right. You didn't ask me this, but they are going to be all right. Um, they are going to learn how to navigate the new you and your strength and your boundaries, and they are going to show up the way that they need to show up to maintain a relationship with you. So I'm so happy that you are doing that. So congrats. Um, let's see. Someone said, I once dated a man that was too agreeable. He would change his responses based on what I would say. I really thought it was weird, but that's what many men yell about regarding nice guys. So yeah, I think this goes with probably both of these points. But yeah, people want to get to know you, right? Unless someone wants to use you and completely like consume you, no one wants a yes person. No one wants someone without a backbone. And that doesn't mean, if you're someone who tends to be more passive, that doesn't mean that you have to be something that you're not and like adopt a whole different personality and be something that feels completely inauthentic to you to be more aggressive and everything else. It means that if you are someone who is a more laid back, passive observer, you still hold within you, the backbone is holding within you. Whoever comes into my space and whoever comes into my circle, this is what love needs to look like. This is what friendship needs to look like. This is what respect needs to look like. And that being fully firm and foundational. And if that person does not meet those standards, then you can silently, quietly move them out, right? Because you have you at the end of the day. Okay. Um, I've been back and forth and now using my boundaries. Really honoring myself has been life changing. That is awesome. I would love to hear if you showing up for yourself also means in your primary relationship too, and showing up with some kindness and validation too, because I know that was something that we have been talking about too. So we could talk about that somewhere else. But since I have you here, I just wanted to drop that. Okay. Number three, last point before I go for today. Is this live going to be on your page? Yes, I will be sharing this on my page. The third, if you're ready for number three, drop a three or heart in the chat for me. I'm talking about three pick me behaviors that will not make an unavailable person love you. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, I didn't even introduce myself. Hello, my name is Sheena Lachey. I'm the founder of Black Girls Heal. I help women heal from love addiction, love avoidance, love deprivation, and the trauma that causes it, the trauma that causes us to put ourselves last in relationships addictively in a pattern. So while some people may have unhealthy relationships, or be attached to a bad guy or bad boy or bad gal, or lose themselves and struggle with self-esteem in certain areas. For us, we do it to the extreme. We do it even when we cannot find our own, even when we make promises to ourselves, when we have lists of things that we say we're going to do and not to do, there is something inside of us that still gets in the way, that sabotages it, that blocks it. And so I help women heal those things through my program. My main program is called the Recovery School. I've been coaching that program for 5 years now, 4 or 5 years now. And I have my next open house for it this Wednesday. So in 2 days, if anyone has been wanting to work together or what I'm talking about here, if you have been binging the podcast or this content, and these are things that you have been struggling with, and listening to this podcast has helped you, but you want more help, the Recovery School is the place that I would love to support you. So you can go to blackgirlsheal.org/open house, and you can join us there. So we have threes. My student says, Leica says, the goat of healing. Thank you, Boo. And she also says, the best program, and I'm not getting paid. Thank you, love. Thank you. That is, let me go ahead and take a screen. Well, no, I'm afraid I may mess it up, knowing me. But that is such a great testimonial. I love the Recovery School. I love the process that we have. I love the community that we've built. And that is why that is the program that I always come back to. Even when I'm doing workshops, even when I do different events, even when I do like little smaller memberships. If you've listened to the podcast, if you follow me for any amount of time, I always come back to the Recovery School, because that is where the magic happens. That is the meat, that is home. And so we'll love for you to be a part of our family. Like it says, I'm tearing up as I say this. Girl, I love you. Okay, let's get to number three so that we can all get our evening routines out of the way. And I need to go and be a mom. Pick up my little one from school. So let's talk about number three, the third pick me behavior for you to be aware of, so that or to be mindful of if you are trying to get an unavailable person to love you, is being mindful to not try to prove that you are different than the others. Number three, the third pick me behavior that will not make an unavailable person love you is trying to prove how different you are than the others. So, earlier on in my recovery journey, like I said, as a recovered love addict and love avoidant, but as a recovering love addict, I would, whenever I had someone, I was dating someone who would talk about an ex and talk about how she was, and not in like a narcissistic, where they like when you first meet them and they're talking about how all women are crazy, and they're like whatever, 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 and like, complete red flag. But just, after you've been dating, or like you're just getting to know each other's story, and hearing about an ex, I would make it my mission or feel extreme validation if they ever said anything, or if I had an opportunity to prove that I was not crazy like the other girls. And that there are so many things that is involved in that type of internalized misogyny, and that internalized self-hatred towards women or towards other people. But basically what it comes down to, the way that, if I'm going to connect this to trauma, just to get straight to it, we have learned, if you have struggled with any type of love addiction, you have learned that the way that you will have survival and the way that you have love is, again, to attend to the needs of the person in front of you. Whether or not it's a parent or caregiver, it's your mother or your father or your granny, whether or not it is a mean teacher, whether or not it's kids that bully you in school, you have learned how to dissect and analyze and see what somebody needs, and figure out who you need to be so that they stay. And um, in doing that, you have to learn how to kind of set yourself apart from the other people. You have to learn how to distance yourself in order to become nameless and wantless with whoever is in front of you. And so, what I see happens with some women who are still in this love addictive kind of pick me pattern is they will compare themselves to other people. They will try to make themselves be the version of a partner or a friend or a daughter or a sister that this person wants them to be or who they think they want them to be. And that never ends well, right? What always ends up well is when you show up with, again, your standards, with who you are, with what you want. Um, Also, the proving can, I'm talking about in a like very disempowered way, like in trying to get someone to pick you, but it also looks like in a defensive way too. So if you've ever been in a relationship and you've ever been like trying to prove that you're not dumb like the other people and like you're strong and kind of like I wish you would, do this kind of thing to me, you're still overcorrecting. Someone who is confident and someone who knows themselves, they don't need to go around saying how confident they are. They don't need to go around declaring that they have boundaries because the boundaries are just automatically there, right? Like the standards are already there. And either you will show up in the way that I need you to show up or you won't. But I'm not really pressed and I'm not that really invested if you decide to act up, right? I'm going to go and find what works for me and what I need. And if you decide to continue to do what you're doing, then you're going to face the natural consequences, which is I won't be as available, right? And so, anytime that you, in short, are trying to prove something to someone, instead of just owning your own truth and owning your own power, you may get caught up, right? You may get caught up in still living through their eyes, again, even if you're trying to prove that you're super strong. So, Hayu says, okay, that is so familiar in relationships more broadly, even though I know that doesn't make me different, it subconsciously has taken up, I'm assuming you said space. Still going to get overworked, underappreciated, etc. Yeah. Trying to prove that you're cool, trying to prove, Lashana, hey, Lashana, it's been so long. Good to see your name. I see your profile pic. Good to see you. Um, but yeah, like trying to prove that you are different. What you want to look at, y'all, in relationships with people in general, is you need to look at how do they treat other people. Because how they treat other people is always how they're going to treat you. How someone treats somebody else is how they're going to treat you. Listen to how they treated their exes. Listen to how they treated their exes. Listen to how they treat their friends. Listen to how they treat other people. You are not the exception. So when you are coming from a pick me place or that kind of choose me attitude, or I'm going to be cool, or I really want to be loved, you think that by your good behavior and by you being good in bed, or you being a baddie, or you being like super smart and funny, or you liking sports, or y'all being in the same field, or you being super successful, you think that all of that is going to disqualify this person who has disrespected or dishonored people before you from dishonoring and disrespecting you now. That means nothing. That person, if they are foolish with one person, they're going to be foolish with you too. Do not ever think that you are above being harmed. You know, I remember, this is connected but not connected, but I'm already starting the story, so I need to finish it now. I remember, when Beyonce first came out with Lemonade, and the album so clearly about infidelity and being cheated on. It's like very clearly she's telling her story. And until, I can't remember if it wasn't until Jay-Z came out with his album a year later where he like confirmed the allegations, or there was an interview or something. But I remember, just I was still on Facebook at the time in the throes of like all the like the conversations back then. But I remember all over my Facebook was like, there's no way that Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce. Like, she is perfection. Like, she is a goddess. Have you seen her? Like, that's clearly just art, like there's no way he could be that foolish. He can. The most beautiful, talented, loving, kind, compassionate, giving, wonderful people are victims to that all of the time. And, Jay-Z said it himself in his interview. It had nothing to do with her. It was about him. It was about his own integrity. It was about his own things that he needed to work through and learn about himself. And so The way that you learn how someone is going to treat you, if you want to become a future teller, a fortune teller, is you look at how they treated their exes. The same fights that they had with those exes are going to be the same fights that they have with you. The same insecurities are the same ones they're going to have with you unless they are actively getting help and support on those things. Unless they are saying, hey, this is what happened in this previous relationship, or you see something that has happened and they're like, hey, I'm talking about this with my therapist, or I'm working on this with my mentor specifically. Not that I'm just being mentor, not just that, I have good friends that I talk to. Whatever happens before, because these are ingrained patterns that we have learned over time and that they're reflexive, they're subconscious, like we do them without even wanting to do them. All of us have these things. You have your own habits and things that you are blind to unless it's reflected back to you from a partnership or through your own personal healing. We all have, again, our blind spots, right? And we all have things that we don't really think is a problem, but other people may think it's a problem. And until we decide that it's actually something that we need to fix, we're going to keep on doing it. Right. And so become a student of whoever you are with, study them, observe them. Pay attention. Don't try to discount what you see or what you don't see or say, well, if it happens, then I'll just talk to them about it. Okay, plan for it to happen. Plan for it to happen, and also plan for them to not be open to changing it. And and that's not being negative. That is you being connected to, is this something that I could live with and that I'm open to living with, right? We don't get with people. You do not get in intimate partnerships with a desire to change them and fix them, because you're setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment. You're setting yourself up for a lot of heartbreak. You need to see someone for who they are and how they're showing up and saying, okay, is this something that I can commit to? If commitment and monogamy is something that you believe in and something that you want, is this something that I can willingly sign up for? And make that decision from there, not based in fantasy, not based on what could be, right? And that's where real love comes from, y'all. No one, think about it. If someone got with you and they were like, you know what, you're about 60, 70% perfect, or actually 80. You are 80% what I want. And there's just 20% of you that I want to fix. How would that make you feel? Right? Like that is not a compliment. And if they were like, you know what, 20% of you I want to help you fix, and 20% of you needs to be fixed, and I'm going to help you, right? Aren't you so happy that I'm here to help you and open your eyes to all the ways that you are not good enough, right? That is not going to be affirming to you if you have high self-esteem, if you have some inner confidence, right? What is affirming is someone saying, I see you. I see you and what you bring. I see your strengths. I see the places that you're still growing, and I choose to love you. That's affirming. That is loving. So, for you, when you are picking a person to be connected to when it comes to intimate relationships, or when you are choosing a friendship, right? Let's talk about friendship for a minute. Some of us, we don't understand that there are multiple levels to friendship and to connection. So, all friends immediately they go into inner circles, or they are acquaintances forever until they pass our scanning period. But there are different steps, right? Someone can be an acquaintance, someone can be a casual friend, someone can be a close friend, someone can be an inner circle friend, right? And sometimes there's a best friend above the inner circle friends. And so there are different levels of trust and access in between all of those people. And so you need to know, based on what you want and what you desire, what helps you feel safe and what you need, what level of friendship is this person going to be in? And then you decide from there, but you have to see them exactly for where they are. If you connect with a girl who is always talking shit about people, but she's tons of fun, you need to plan for the fact that she's going to be talking tons of shit about you, right? It doesn't matter how much y'all click, if your mamas knew each other, if y'all have the same sense of humor, you are going to be on the receiving end of that stuff, of that betrayal. And so you need to place her accordingly. And don't do the whole like gamey thing unless you're at a place where you want to be playing games and, being in those up and down relationships. I hope not, because that's a stressful place to be. My hope for every person listening to this is that you get to a place where your relationships are easy, right? Where the majority of your friendships and the people that you're connected to are ones of support, people that you can trust to pour into you, people you can trust to, that you can rely on them, people who take care of themselves, people who are fun, and people who make you laugh. And that when it comes to playing chess and strategically having to navigate like politics and stuff like that, my prayer is that that does not happen in your inner circle friendships. And my prayer is that that does not happen in the family membership relationships that you decide to be close with. Because many of us have big families, and there may be pockets and cousins and people that we like and people who we don't. And we're connected by family, and that's okay. And in your partnership and your relationships, my prayer is that you're not going home and playing um, chess with them, and it's always a game outside of like the, keeping it cute, keeping it spicy, for some people, like staying, like keeping it a mystery and that kind of stuff. That's different than how am I going to manipulate this person, or I don't trust them and let me like be 5 steps ahead of them. Like sleeping with the enemy is not good for your heart, it's not good for your stress levels, it's not good for just your personal life satisfaction, right? So all this to say, I would really encourage you to see people exactly for where they are and make a decision from there. And it's a neutral decision. It's a neutral decision that you get to decide how close to me and the levels of intimacy do I allow them to be. Okay. Does this make sense? Let me know if this is helpful. For those of you who are just joining, the replay will be saved to the page. But I was talking about 3 pick me behaviors that will not make someone who is unavailable love you. And I talked about not being complacent. I talked about showing up with respect for yourself. I talked about, what was the last one? Let me take a peek at my notes. I talked about not trying to prove yourself as being different than the others, and then by nature, kind of making yourself a perfect target, a perfect victim. Okay, yes, this was helpful. Okay, great. Thank you. Yay. Yes, thank you. Beyond helpful. And thank you for the notes, Leica. Okay, so I am so happy to be here. This week's podcast episode, like I said, is going to be about the difference between complacency versus compatibility. So that should be up tomorrow. I haven't asked this in a long time, and I asked it in the podcast episode. I would love that if you have been here for a while and you have found the materials here helpful, that you share this content with a friend or with a loved one. Even if it's one of the, old school, like a couple years old, but like, an older podcast that you really enjoyed or a more recent one. Making a review on your favorite podcast player is really great at helping people find this podcast and know what it's about. I would just be really honored for you to continue to share these resources and tag us on social media and all that stuff. It really helps people learn about the support that we have here. And so that is it for now. I hope to see y'all who want to work together at my Recovery School Open House, which is my coaching program. We have a student here on Instagram who was talking about how it has truly helped her and changed her life, and she is not being paid or promoted to say it. I'm so proud of her. I'm proud of all the hundreds of women who've gone through the program at this point. You can register by going to blackgirlsheal.org/open house. And it is on Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. CST. So, wait, yeah, 6:30. All right, y'all have a good one. I will see you at the next live, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye. Bye, YouTube. Bye, Instagram.